原宣多媒体报道，9月14日太平洋时间上午11点，反对仇恨联盟组织召开网上会议。会议的主题是给仇恨犯罪做定义。如今，仇恨犯罪已成为一种无声无息的流行病。针对亚裔的仇恨犯罪以及媒体在社区赋权中所扮演角色，在疫情之下，美国仇恨犯罪的事情不断增加，制造了恐惧、孤立及不信任。多数受害者阐述了自己的遭遇，他们有另一种感觉，是好像被负责保护他们的机构再度受到伤害，特别是住在亚裔社区的居民受到了影响，进而质疑警方为什么这样的事情会发生及执法能力和媒体等机构无意间所扮演的角色。本次会议给仇恨犯罪行为做一个清晰的定义，还进一步探讨了媒体及执法机构如何应对仇恨犯罪的事件，执法部门正在采取哪些措施来阻止亚裔仇恨犯罪极端上升。我们的主讲人透过现象看本质，以解决方案为核心的透视镜原理来讨论这些议题，以及媒体在社区赋权中的作用。同时，在会议上及时回答了朋友们提出的问题，阐述了定义仇恨犯罪与仇恨事件，并呈现统计数据和趋势。参加本次会议的专家有反对仇恨联盟执行董事何美梅，前参议院少数党领袖、反仇恨联盟主任、参议员夏乐柏，奥兰治县地区副检察官、特别检察官大卫麦克默林。他阐述定义仇恨犯罪与仇恨事件，并呈现统计数据和趋势。洛杉矶县警局仇恨犯罪协调员侦探简黄，他讲执法部正在采取哪些措施来阻止仇恨犯罪的极端上升。媒体执行董事里贾纳·威尔逊
Rosalicia Ochoa-Boak, as well as numerous community leaders. Senator Huff and I have been very committed to public service throughout our careers. Bob served in the local government in Los Angeles County for 9 years, and then in the California State Assembly and Senate for another 12. He was the Senate minority leader working across the aisle to improve lives and outcomes. My career has involved business development, government affairs, and community leadership in California and internationally. Together, Bob and I created Huff strategies to focus on our skill sets listed above. But more recently, we established the Act Against Hate Alliance to better focus on the deplorable rise in hate crimes. Hate crimes touch us all. The principal mandate of the Act Against Hate Alliance is to identify effective solutions to stopping hate crimes. Each segment of this series will bring together stakeholders and thought leaders with a cross-disciplinary focus, along with members of the media, to look at what is happening, to analyze causes, and then
briefings, each bring enormous experience to this program, and it's a great honor to have them with us today. We hope to have time for questions after our guests present, so please type any questions in the chat thread throughout the program. Also, for our media friends, and most of you are media related, please put your name, contact information, which organization you work for in the chat if you haven't done so already. You may recognize a change in our presenter lineup, as we originally published a list that included Councilmember Peggy Wong, who is a Deputy Attorney General associated with the Asian American Civil Liberties and Anti-Defamation League. Peggy had to accommodate a judge's change schedule. Those things happen, and could not be with us today. She did, however, work hard to find us an exceptional replacement. Our first presenter is that replacement, Deputy Unit, which includes handling Orange County's hate crimes. Prior to being in the Special Prosecution Unit, David served in the Human Exploitation and Trafficking Unit.
The bias against women. We've seen women being committed hate crimes against, being pushed into the middle of the street, hoping they get hit by cars, just due to the fact that they're out in the street and they're women. people based off their sexual orientation, who've had prior relationships with people, but due to the fact that the suspect, the defendant in cases, don't agree with his sexual orientation, his choices he made, he approached him as he got out of a car, and he's attacking him. We've had victims of security guards who are working in a park trying to protect, the park goers, the kids who go to parks, and approach a person who's being disrespectful, saying bad things, and based off of his ethnicity and his perceived ethnicity, that suspect and that defendant, swung a skateboard at him, trying to hit him with a skateboard. We've elderly couples based off their race. There were Asian elderly couple that were attacked out of nowhere just because they were an Asian couple walking in the park. Those are typically the hate crimes that we see that we're able to charge. You do get some vandalisms against persons' homes, immigrants, people going against them because of they disagree with immigration policies or disagree with them being able to be in our country. You do see some of those where they're defacing the properties, things like that. There is a difference between hate crimes and what we'd say is a hate incident. When I say what hate crime, I'm saying is I can prove beyond a reasonable doubt one of those penal codes, the 422.6, 422.7, any crime that's added with a hate element, which is the 422.75. That to me is a hate crime because that's something that is out in the legislator in the penal code that I could charge as a crime and go after a person for violating that crime. And I believe I can prove that beyond a reasonable doubt. There's a lot of hate incidences, unfortunately. There's a lot of racism. There's a lot of bigots out there that are somewhat protected by freedom of speech. So sometimes issues that we have, which I would just say is a hate incident, not something we can prove, are people exercising their freedom of speech, unfortunately in a manner that could be offensive, that is offensive, that's appalling to most people. But they're exercising their freedom.
We were properly documented. There's additional information that we need because we do provide our stats and information to DOJ and just make sure everything's thorough, that the report taking was thorough, that the investigation was thorough by the initial deputies that took that initial report. So another thing that we do is to also assist detectives with their investigations with relation to hate crimes and hate incidents, just to make sure that, they have all the information that they need. So really, we're a resource for other detectives as well. We also provide training and guidance to deputies and stations regarding their handling of hate crimes and hate incidents, just so they get a better understanding sometimes. I know there's certain stations where hate crimes and hate incidents might be a little more prevalent than others. That said, we're there for them. We're a resource for them out of the Hate Crime Task Force. We additionally coordinate with every other unit station within the department and are in frequent contact with their designated hate crime coordinators to ensure that all policies and procedures are up to date and that we're just providing them with updated information and resources that might be available for the public and the community. Additionally, another big step that we take as a hate crime task force is to collaborate with outside agencies, whether that be law enforcement, the district attorney's office, and community-based groups and organizations like this. A lot of that is just to promote and foster positive relationships, be think tanks essentially to get ideas for, hey, what might be working with one agency versus ours, and just to bring more awareness to hate crimes and hate incidents that are occurring in our areas. That said, the two biggest steps that I could probably say that we are taking as law enforcement, at least within our department, to help curb the rise in hate crimes is, two basic things: education and collaboration. In regards to education, we've enacted departmental
mitigate and stop some of the hate that we see, that the officers have talked about, the things that they see. We know that we won't be able to stop it. It's human nature. People, there's certain things that people will hate people for certain reasons. But what we hope is that we can create community to be connected well enough
so that if there is a problem that arises, you can call me. I'll put my number in the chat. Not that I know every Black person in California or America, but that you can call me, because there's a hope that an NAACP or a BAPAC or somebody in our community is able to say, wait a second, is that sister so-and-so's son who's done this? Or is that so-and-so who's done that? Or if there is a beef in community, that we're able to talk through it and solve it versus, putting ourselves in hate. And one of the things that really, really, that I want to make sure also gets mentioned in this conversation is mainstream media's play on this and their role in some of this. I think I don't think that anybody probably missed, if you lived in the Northern California area, when we saw at the height of the pandemic, two African-American males pushed down elderly Asian Americans. And I want to just say, even though I don't speak for every Black person in the state of California or America, I can tell you, though, hands down, the way we grew up, the way I grew up in my community and the people that I know, there's.
And have you seen any incidents? We've read about incidents in the past. Do you think the department has improved the interracial, interethnic dynamics among the law enforcement people? And finally, for Regina, how do we push beyond the negative stereotypes? Each of our media, often, sometimes unwittingly, but even through the repetitive use of photographs of this perpetrator against this victim, sort of perpetuate or expand the stereotypes that can often foster hate.
I can start. I think I don't have the statistics in front of me going back years. So I can just talk about the last year and a couple months that I've been handling hate crimes in Orange County and working with my other counterpart, William Haw, who we've split up Orange County and handle those jurisdictions. I don't know if I've seen an additional willingness in the last year, additional reports that have come through documenting hate crimes, but I see a lot. I get them weekly. We're getting lots of criminal reports sent to us, whether it's directly from the police agencies themselves identifying it as a potential hate crime, or a deputy district attorney who's reviewing a case that comes as a different crime. And they, as we've trained them, see cues that maybe this is at least a hate incident and something that either myself or William Haw would want to look at to see if we can prove criminal charges of a hate crime. In all of those cases that we get, we document. We keep our own statistics on that, whether it's just a hate incident that we clarified it, or we actually then do file criminal charges. And if we file criminal hate crime charges in Orange County, me and William Haw are the only prosecutors who handle those cases. So I've seen a lot. I've seen lots of reports indicating hate crimes, but I can't say in the last year and a couple months that it's been going in one direction or another. But we do see
for numbers or statistics or anything like that, since, we don't handle that, that's going to be more of a personnel issue. However, we do have a lot of policies in place, that, where that's not tolerated, to discriminate or treat someone a certain way because of their race, ethnicity, gender, etc. However, I don't really have numbers in regards to if that occurs or whatever, but I do know, speaking from personal experience, it's not anything that I've ever experienced. But I can't say what the official, numbers are in regards to that, since for us as hate crimes, we don't handle that aspect. That would probably be more of an administrative or personnel issue.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Wilson, how do we get beyond the stereotypes we media often unwittingly perpetuate?
Well, I think we have to hold each other accountable. So we have to, I think, through Ethnic Media Services, I think that is an umbrella that captures all of us. And I think that
袁轩多媒体报道，谢谢收看。